Hello and welcome to Smitty's. I am a wood cutting fanatic who loves to run a chainsaw. I run alcohol chainsaws, ported chainsaws, I race chainsaws, and I even run the occasional vintage. Now remember, I cannot do this without you. You're everything to the channel, so please remember, subscribe, give that thumbs up, leave that comment. Today, we are going to have a lot of fun. So, how you doing? So, we got something cool for you today. We're going to bring back the P70. We haven't seen this saw in a very long time. Well, we're going to give her a run today. There's a reason. You see, the folks out at Sawfest decided to have a contest. They're going to have a vintage bounty log, I think they call it. So basically, we're going to run vintage saws. Going to race them. I believe it has to be pre-1985. And the P70 was dated, I think they're dated mid to late 70s. So we're good to go. We already got one built. You know what I mean? So this was a collaboration project. Charles Briscoe did all the machine work. He modified a 371 piston to work in it. And I did all the grinding and the disassembly and the assembly and all that stuff. The saw does have one issue. The carburetor, I have to prime it pretty much every time I want to start it. But it seems like once I get it going, I'm good to go. But, you know, like the first start of the day, I always seem to have to prime it. I might be looking to locate another carburetor. It is a cheap Chinese carburetor. It's a 266 style carburetor. I might even change it up to a different type and do some modifications there. We'll see. We'll see how things go in the future. But for now, let's give her a run. It's been a long time since we've seen this one. Probably going to have to do some tuning because it's been a while. So, hey, check it out. There she is back here. You kind of see that little blurry yellow? Yep, Partner P70. All ported up and ready to rock and roll. So, yeah, let's give her a run. So there we go. I forgot how good this saw ran. I completely forgot. First time I've ever put a tack on it. She's almost exactly 12,000 RPM in the cut. A little bit over, sometimes a little bit under. And the chain is so hungry. It's ridiculous. She just wants to bounce and chatter everywhere. Did all right with the poplar, but that oak, man. You see, you're going to see this stuff happen a lot with me now with my chains, because I was sharpening everything a certain way and I decided to take it back to my old method. So now I'm going to run into a bunch of chain issues where chains are just off. And this is another one. It'll take time for me to get everything dialed back into the way I like it. I just decided recently that I wasn't happy with the results I was getting. So I'm going back to my old tried and true method of sharpening. So yeah, it's very basic settings, but you know, it works. It's the old way was not very forgiving to a raker. You know what I mean? This method here is better. You can handle the dog in better and all that stuff. The other way was, you know, it worked good on some species of wood, didn't work as well on others. Now I'm changing it up to more of an all-around sow sharpening. It's just like I just sharpened this chain, but the rakers are so freaking deep, I'd have to sit there for an hour and a half or a half hour grinding at the chain until there's almost nothing left of it to get it, you know, tamed down. So we're just going to run it and have chatter until we get her tamed down. I might even just keep sharpening on this chain until I hit that sweet spot. I didn't just, you know, throw it on the wall or whatever and just save it for when we head out to Sawfest. I've been going kind of back and forth on doing that. You see, the most common chain that everybody runs is C83, and it would make it easy to replace a chain or have an extra, you know what I mean? Because you just buy a C83 chain, you take a couple off the rakers, and you're good to go right out of the box. Where my chains, you know, I tend to dial them in for the saw a little more. You know what I mean? Because some saws can handle more than others. So I do tend to dial them in a little more for the saw. And over time, I kind of remember which saws prefer different grinds. The issue there is that, like this, that chain, I'm trying to remember, I think it was on the 500i. So the raker's just super deep because the 500i can't rev out. You got to rely on the chain to pull it down. So, you know, the raker's too deep now for this saw. And, you know, we'll have to get her sorted out. But we might do that. We might just wait until we hit the sweet spot on all our chains and run them like that. Or we could go with things like C83 and just keep a stockpile of it for racing, you know? And it'd be easy to replace it. A lot easier than my method of working and fine-tuning each chain for the saw for its best performance, if you know what I mean. So, you know, there's options there. But, yeah, P70, 12,000 RPM in the cut. And not bad for a saw from the 70s, I'll tell you. Briscoe did a really good job with that machine work. I do remember this, he machined the squish band to have a tapered squish band. And he did the 371 piston to match that taper. And everything he did really helped it. The issue I'm having with it is, I think, carburetor related. It just doesn't like to return to idle. So basically, whenever I return to idle, it'll idle, but it doesn't like to sit there and idle. If you lean it up just a little bit, the RPM wants to go real high. If you fatten it up just a little bit, it wants to load up and stall. It's such a minute adjustment, and you can't hit the sweet spot. So I think part of that has to do with the butterfly on the carb. A lot of them have a little tiny hole drilled in there to allow a little bit of air through. And I think that it's not letting the proper amount of air, or some of them don't even have that hole. So if that carburetor don't even have that hole, it might just be, you know, that I need to put a tiny hole in that. But I think I'm going to end up swapping that carb out anyway. I might even pull that off, throw it on a different saw, and get another carb for this. Just to see if I can clean that up a little. You know what I mean? Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with this saw. Well, that, and it doesn't, you know, start without a prime. Well, I bet you it would start without a prime. I just don't feel like pulling on it that long. Which tells me we could have some impulse issues. So I might be beneficial for me to just pull that off and switch it over to like a 372 carburetor and run a new impulse line and everything, get a stronger impulse on it. I bet you this saw would start easier. I've ran these 266 carbs before and other stuff, and I've never had one that would run the way I wanted it to run. It was just never super reliable. So that's why I tend to gravitate more towards the 372 carbs. The 266 ones just don't seem to behave perfectly or as perfect as the 372 carbs. And that might be what we do with this one. But anyway, thought you'd enjoy this. A little test run of the P70. She's still good to go. Or you guys look out. We're coming for you at Sawfest. Alrighty, later.